Good evening. This is Mae Bressel in Carmel, California. This is tape 353. It's September the 8th, 1978. The House Select Committee on Assassinations is having their public hearing on television. They had James Earl Ray last week, and we discussed that. And they're having their hearings on the John Kennedy assassination. They begin out here in California at 6 in the morning, and I have gotten up 2 mornings. I'll be getting up for every hearing, of course. And the format is that I'm typing up the hearings each day. Yesterday I typed up 90 pages of the testimony of John Conley and Robert Groden, and then I transcribed them into a brief summary of my opinions of that particular day's testimony, the pertinent points, the points left out, the best I could. And I guess I'll keep that format going each day so that I don't get behind. And I typed up the testimony the following day of Dr. Cyril Wecht and the medical testimony on the John Kennedy autopsy and the discrepancies in the Warren Commission report and the autopsy report and the new information that's being put out at this time. There are a lot of questions that you will probably have. Many people that take these tapes are old researchers. They have a lot of material. They know a lot of facts, and they want new information or my opinions on certain areas specifically. And there are many people that have started subscribing to tapes recently that are not familiar with many years of past work of the 15 years research. And it's very hard to find a compromise here between going into this material at a too fast a point or level and yet informing those people that are not familiar with all the backlog. The only way I can see to do that is to just briefly cover the material that I think is pertinent. And I can't begin to cover it all. I mean, we could do tapes the rest of the year on just what I heard today, I think, or yesterday. But the main thing is that if you have any questions that I don't cover in this material now or on any other tape or any other subject, write to me and I'll do cassettes for you so that we can all share it and update some information. Or you can pick up a telephone and call me. I can't answer letters. I'm just deluged with mail to answer specific points of the research, and that's really difficult and time-consuming. So you can pick up a phone. My number is here on the paper that's enclosed with your tapes. If you have a question to ask, and if you want me to go at length on a subject, just let me know, and if I haven't covered it, I will. The crux of the investigation was put very well by Dr. Cyril Wecht when he testified, it was September the 7th, 1978, on the single bullet theory. Robert Blakey, who I've accused of covering up right from the very beginning, hired a group of 9 doctors, forensic pathologists, to give testimony on the bullet direction and the bullet 399 to lean heavily on what is known to the various researchers as a single bullet theory. And they asked Dr. Cyril Wecht, who's both a lawyer and a doctor and a very active, very, very active person continuously in exposing corruption at the highest levels, they asked him to testify before this committee. He testified before the Rockefeller Committee several years ago, and I understand that when they printed their report, they published something different than what he testified. And when he asked for the original report, he couldn't see the original testimony and compare how it was changed. Dr. Cyril Wecht was asked to testify on ballistic trajectory and the autopsy reports because he is a prominent man, but they stacked up these various people against him and let one gentleman, one doctor from New York City, be the spokesman for all the other people, and he would be the person that, by weight of sheer numbers of people against Dr. Cyril Wecht, hopefully Mr. Blakey, Robert Blakey, hoped that they would soften what Cyril Wecht had to say, and Dr. Baden was the man speaking for all the other pathologists. But as he wound up his testimony and argued continuously about what is known as a single bullet theory, it's the thing which the Warren Commission clung to. It was created by Arlene Specter. It has no ability to hold up in terms of trajectory or evidence, physical evidence. It's something that people cling to because they have to hold on to the lone assassin story. When you get into 2 or more gunmen, you have a conspiracy. And Dr. Cyril Wecht was very moving and very dramatic, and these tapes are available at the Tape Center here in Pacific Grove. You can write to me, and I'll include the address here. You can get any or all of these tapes. And I think in terms of research, you should at least get the tape of Dr. Cyril Wecht, the last hour that he testified or so before he completed his testimony, because he got very angry when they tried to nail him with being outnumbered by the other people, and he gave logical reasons why he thought his testimony would hold up. And he made an important point that when assassination happens in the future, whether it's a president or a congressman or a judge, a federal government figure, that the medical examination and the legal investigation should be done in a way that is proper, that any ordinary citizen gets, that the average person gets, and the physical evidence shouldn't be destroyed. And if we had a clear record of physical evidence in these assassinations, and if we also had prosecution for people who destroy evidence in criminal matters, it would be harder to do these conspiracies because there would be less chance of people knowing that they can get away with it. And he asked that the records show for all times that there is a way to conduct autopsies and legal investigations. He also said that there's a mental block, an impediment, and he said he recognizes this. It's a political nature. It prevents individuals from letting it all come out. He as much as said there is a conspiracy. If you want to see it, it's all there. And they asked him how come he sees it and the other men don't, and he said, because I'm more open. He attacked the way that the autopsy was done years ago. We have all objected to that. We researchers, some of us started 15 years ago when we read the Warren Commission exhibits and testimony, and only this week they changed the bullets. The fatal headshot from John Kennedy is now officially 4 inches higher than it was before. These people worked with a photograph, and Commander Hume worked with the actual body. So there shouldn't be a discrepancy of more than a half an inch. Even though Commander Hume didn't have photographs, he had the corpse on the table. And yet there's a 4-inch difference and a lot of bungling, and he wasn't cross-examined on any of this. But Dr. Cyril Wecht said the reason he sees it differently, that he lets it come out. And I could identify with that. The reason I think I see history differently and could see it changing and see the lies and corruption all along is that I'm not afraid of truth, and I'm not afraid of some people being hurt, because for all of those that get hurt and caught, there's others that will be saved in the future. And I don't think it's negative to look for conspiracies. I think it's positive. And I identify with a life force of wanting to do a thorough job so it doesn't happen again, and so that people don't get away with these things and are allowed free on the streets to do other assassinations and murders. He said that if they show up, the single bullet theory, if they would give it up, it has no basis ballistically, trajectory-wise, it witnesses photographic evidence. There isn't anything to support the fact that one bullet came out of Lee Harvey Oswald's rifle and went into the back of John Kennedy and out the throat and into the back of John Connally and through his chest and broke ribs and into his lungs and into his hand and shattered the wrist, and then went into his thigh and fell out whole and pristine on a stretcher at Parkland Hospital. And he said when you give that up, when you give up that, then you get into an area of criminal conspiracy, and the reason people are holding on to the single bullet theory and they can't go into 2 or more is you have a criminal conspiracy. And he said this recognition is hard for people to see. Cyril Wecht went on and said the president is gone, we can't bring him back, but we have political assassinations all over the world. He said there was a coup d'etat. We consider them in, he named the countries of Europe and Asia, the banana republics, Africa, Orient, everywhere, but not the USA. And he went on to say it did happen here. And he said, I don't know who it was or how it happened, but there was this coup d'etat, and that people are afraid to face it. And as long as they hold on to the single bullet theory, they'll never solve the assassination. It was a very dramatic moment, and I was excited because he did talk about people's fears of holding on, of political interests, vested political interests. He said that several of the doctors that opposed his views, one worked for CBS, one worked for the Rockefeller Committee, that they had political reasons for bowing under and tantamount to being not blackmailed, but just playing the game, politically